What's good, y'all? It's your boy, Mr. Cheap Sense, getting ready to get out of here and get to work. But before I do, this is actually a video I was going to do last night, but I had company, so I couldn't do it. But before I go any further with what I'm about to do, if you're not a subscriber to the channel, make sure you do so. Make sure also you ring the bell for notifications. There's an icon that's going to open up above the bell. Make sure you hit all so you get all content uploaded through this channel. Make sure you like the video, that's thumbs up. Make sure you share the videos and make sure you are active in the comment section. With that being said, let's move on. So the fragrance that I wore last night was from a house called Lady in Red. And they sent me a bunch of samples of different Creed fragrances that they do replicas of. And this one was their replica of Creed Aventus. I know it's kind of hard to see. Eau de Parfum concentration, 50 ml, about 35 bucks for these. Now I know some people are going to say 35 bucks for 50 ml, yada yada yada. Obviously, this video is not going to be for everybody because there are a lot of people who don't like cologne houses as is. They have issues with it. I don't have an issue with it. There's a market for everybody. A lot of people aren't able to go out and just fork out $250 to $400 or $500 for a bottle of Creed Aventus or whatever the case may be, whatever fragrance it is. But for the most part, this isn't a bad house whatsoever. What I wanted to do was I actually took every last single fragrance that I have that is pertaining to Creed Aventus, in which I have my sample of Creed Aventus right here. This is the 19S01 batch. I'm going to put this up against 7 other fragrances. One is possibly not a direct clone, but I'm gonna throw it in there anyway because it did get comparisons to Creed Aventus while it had its hype. So that's what we're about to do. We're about to put all of these other 7 fragrances to the test against Creed Aventus, the quote-unquote king of Aventus, and see how these fare. Just the fragrances that I have in particular. Now, I know other people may have a different batch. Other people may have different clones of Creed Aventus, different from what I have here. But this is just what I'm going with, what I have. So, first off, I want to get 19S01 sprayed on this paper. And I think this came from Trey Scents. I'm not totally sure, but thank you, Trey, anyway. So let's get this on paper. Wow. That's nice. I really should be spraying these on my skin, but being that I'm about to go to work and I don't want all these, even though they all may smell similar to Creed Aventus, I don't want these different vibes all over me. So we have the original Creed Aventus sprayed on one paper. And now we're going to go with Sensual Obsessions formulation. This is their double Aventus. So we're going to spray that one. And right off the bat, that one doesn't resemble what I have here at all. Let me give it another spray. It's faint. It's very faint. I'm not really picking up what I'm picking up from the original here, Creed Aventus. I'm gonna let that settle down and see what happens. Off the top, I'm not picking up what I'm picking up from the original Creed Aventus from Double Aventus from Sensual Obsession. So let's go with one of my favorites at the time. This is Insurrection Pure 2. I know that's kind of hard to see, but what I'm getting off the top of that is alcohol right now. So I'm going to let that dry down. And I'm actually sitting the bottles and the decants on top of the tissues that I'm spraying, so I won't mix these up. Now, one of my other favorites, another inexpensive fragrance, is from the house of Zara. This is Vibrant Leather. And the performance on this one is an issue. Another alcohol blast. Let that dry down. If you want to know more about Zara fragrances, there's a young guy by the name of Martin Martinez. If you want to know about any Zara fragrance, then tune into his channel. Check him out. He does everything Zara. He kind of got away from it because Zara was starting to get a little mundane, a little bland with their fragrances. They come out with stuff, either the same stuff over and over and over, or they come out with these linear, bland fragrances. And he wanted to, veer off from that and start getting into some other things. But I think recently here, he's starting to get back into Zara a little bit. So check him out. He's very knowledgeable when it comes to Zara fragrances. And even if he doesn't know off the top of his dome, he has his computer right in front of him, and he usually just clicks on the website, tells you the note breakdowns and all this good stuff. So very informative young man. Next up, from Cremo, Bergamot and Musk. And this is the one that was a little bit controversial. I got a slight vibe of Aventus from this fragrance, but it wasn't enough for me to flat out say that it's a Creed Aventus clone. But you do get a slight vibe from it. I guess it's from the bergamot that's in it. So, let's see. Next, we're going to go with another one that kind of surprised me. A subscriber sent me this. This is a partial bottle. It's not much left. I got a few wearings left in this. This is from Al Haramain. This is L'Aventure. And this one kind of surprised me. Two more left. Next up is Executive number 26 from Alt Fragrances. And I've already done reviews on the majority of these fragrances. So if you want reference, go back and check out some of my videos and you'll get information. Last but not least is from the House of Lady in Red. This is Creed Aventus, their replica of Creed Aventus Eau de Parfum for him. Now I'm going to tell you, all of these fragrances, for some strange reason, every last one of them smells different than the original Creed Aventus 19S01. Now let me check Sensual Obsession's double Aventus. So from Central Obsessions double Aventus, I do slightly pick up that Creed Aventus vibe. It's not close enough. It's faint to my nose. I'm picking up something almost soapy a little bit about this double Aventus. It's not a bad fragrance. It's just not close enough. And that's not saying anything bad about Central Obsessions formulation of double Aventus, but what I'm smelling off of this tissue, it's just not close enough. All right, so let's move on to Insurrection Pure 2. This one actually turned sweet. I'm not really picking up the same vibe that I'm getting from 19SO1. This is a lot sweeter. It's nice though. I like that, to be honest. I'm almost picking up the sweetness that you pick up from Trace Nuit, which is a clone of Green Irish Tweed. It's slightly that kind of sweetness, but it's not bad. I like that. This one can be had for about 20 bucks online, the gray market, like Fragrance X, Fragrance Net, places like that. There are performance issues with this particular fragrance, but I'm one of those guys who don't mind reapplying. So this is a good fragrance. I recommend this one, but only to people who are willing to just spend $20 for a fragrance and be satisfied with the results you get from it. Obviously, I am about quality over quantity now. When I first got into the game, it was more quantity over quality, but that has flipped for me. But I still say that for people who aren't looking to spend, 60 and upwards into the stratosphere for a fragrance, the majority of these, I do recommend all of them. Some more than others, but you get the picture. So next we're going with Zara Vibrant Leather. Actually, Vibrant Leather is a lot closer than I thought it would be. That opening, it was alcoholic, but they're close. Honestly, a lot closer than Central Obsessions Double Aventus and Insurrection Pure 2. Vibrant Leather is actually a lot closer than I thought it would be. Interesting. But there are performance issues with Vibrant Leather also. This one can be had for around the $15 to $20 mark on Zara's website. I don't know how hard it is to get the original older batches of this if they're still out there. I suggest trying to get those instead of the newer batches, but this still isn't a bad fragrance. I actually like this a lot. And as you can see, I have been wearing it. And there are people out there who say, oh, well, I hate seeing people when they do reviews and they hold up full bottles of fragrance and yada, yada, yada. Like, dude, what difference does it make, man? Just do your thing and let everybody else do theirs. So, but this actually is a whole hell of a lot closer to the original Creed Aventus 19S01 than the first two that I just did. So now this one I'm not expecting. Yeah, like this to me isn't even in the same category. It smells nothing alike. This is Cremo's Bergamot and Musk. Now I will say that what I'm picking up off of this paper, although it's not that close to Creed Aventus, it's on this tissue performing a whole hell of a lot better than the first three and even the Creed Aventus. I can smell this a lot more clear than I can smell any of the other ones. Yeah. Damn, that Insurrection Pier 2 is nice. Yeah. I mean, this one is like coming up off the paper and I don't even have to breathe deep to smell it. Now, I have worn this one a couple of times, low key. I'm not a big Cremo fan, but I have been testing it. As you can see, I've been wearing it and it's not as bad as I thought it was. It just took some time. I think this is one that also is discontinued, along with another fragrance. I can't remember the name of the other one, but if you see this one in the wild somewhere, go ahead and pick it up. I mean, it's not going to hurt anything. It is discontinued. So for about 15, 20 bucks, I believe it was, not a bad fragrance. I'm not a big fan, like I said, of Cremo, but what I'm getting off of this paper so far is projecting like crazy, and I have to breathe deep to smell the first four fragrances, including the Creed. So right now it's performing like a champ. I like that scent. That's nice. Now, L'Aventure from Al Haramain. That smells good. I'm not getting what I'm getting from this Creed. Let me go ahead and give this another spray. I'm going to spray it on my skin this time. 2 sprays. I want to get it on skin. Let that settle down a little bit. I just put the original Creed, the 19S01, on my hand so I can get a better see this one, L'Aventure, it smells good to me. It's just not close enough. I don't know whether it's just, to me, not close enough. Maybe to another batch, but comparing it to 19S01, I'm not getting the same vibe. I mean, it's slightly there. It's something added to L'Aventure that's kind of leaning a little towards the right a little bit. It's there. It smells close, similar to Creed Aventus. I won't say close. It smells similar to it, but it's a different vibe I'm getting from it. It's not as smooth as the Aventus, the original Aventus. You can tell it's a little synthetic. I hate using synthetic and generic. I hate using those words because words like that people use, and it kind of deters people from even wanting to try out the fragrance. Sometimes they hear somebody say synthetic or generic, and little do they know that a lot of the ingredients in their favorite fragrances are synthetic and generic and are, blended from other fragrances to make a certain fragrance. So, but L'Aventure isn't bad. It's just not as refined and smooth as 19SO1. But it is decent. I don't like it as much as I like the Insurrection. That Insurrection, man, it has like a slight sweetness to it, and I like sweet fragrances. So, yeah. All right, so last two, we have alt fragrances. Executive number 26. It's there. This one actually is there. Alt fragrances, executive number 26 is there. It's actually a lot closer than any of the other fragrances that I've done so far. It's almost identical. Yeah, it's almost identical. So alt fragrances isn't bad. Now performance, that's another issue. I think I got maybe 5 to 5.5 hours of longevity out of this before I had to reapply, which I don't mind. It is what it is with me. But that's the closest. That's damn near spot on. That is the closest fragrance so far that I've gotten. Vibrant Leather it's on the line, but it's like kind of teeter-tottering to fall off a little bit. It's there. But you can tell that 19SO1 is a lot smoother than these other fragrances so far. Yeah, see, Double Aventus from Central Obsessions, it's not even in the same ballpark. It's just maybe a different batch, but not this particular batch. It smells good, though. Don't get me wrong. It does have a slight sweetness to it. It's not like Insurrection Pure 2, but it does have a nice sweetness to it. It's not a bad fragrance. I'm not putting down Central Obsessions. For what it is, it's still a good fragrance and it performs. It's just not close enough to this particular batch that I have, 19SO1. So last but not least, the newest fragrance in the collection, which is Lady in Red Fragrance Club Genealogy Collection, our replica Creed Aventus Eau de Parfum spray for him. I know that was a mouthful, but so let's see. Yeah, it's to this particular batch, it's not close enough. It smells good. This particular batch that I have, the 19SO1, it's just not close enough. Maybe to another batch, like I said, but this particular batch is just not close enough. Give it another spray. Yeah. 19S01. Let me get this on my skin. So funny with this particular fragrance, I'm almost getting not so much pineapple. It seems like I'm getting like you know how you go to the grocery store and you see pineapples and some of them have that kind of yellow looking hue to them, meaning that they're turning ripe, versus the ones that are green and kind of bitter still. That's what I'm getting from Lady in Red's version of Creed Aventus. It's almost that green pineapple type vibe, that not so ripe pineapple. And you can tell that this version, it does smell kind of synthetic versus the 19S01, which is more rounded, more refined. So the only fragrance so far that is almost spot on is alt fragrances right now. And yes, alt fragrances did send me this fragrance some time back. They actually sent me, I think, 6, 2, 4, 5. They sent me 6 different samples of their fragrances. So that was sent to me. This was sent to me. I think the Al Haramain was gifted to me. I paid for this one. This one was in a trade. And Kevin from Sensual Obsession sent me the double Aventus. And Trey sent me this formulation of the original Creed Aventus. And personally speaking, alt fragrances, from what I'm smelling, is the absolute closest fragrance right now to this batch of Creed Aventus, which is 19S01. I do still highly recommend all of these other fragrances, despite whether they was gifted to me or whatever you want to call it. That's just what I'm getting. Yeah, see, Al Haramain is not close enough. If you want a fragrance that is going to put out, I think the one that is standing out the most is the Cremo Bergamot and Musk. As, like I said, I'm not a huge fan of Cremo, but I can't deny that this fragrance, although it doesn't smell similar to me, to Creed Aventus in its own way, it's performing like a champ right now. It smells good. And for the price tag of about $20, if you can find it, because I think it is discontinued, I'd pick this up. Now, for those of you who are into slightly sweet fragrances and you want something a little different from the norm, then Insurrection Pure 2 is not a bad pickup. You get a nice bottle. You get a nice box presentation. It's not the greatest box in the world, but it sits inside here. So, and Zara Vibrant Leather is not a bad fragrance. You're just gonna have to put up with the performance issues if you choose to go that route. It doesn't perform the greatest, but for what it is, I like it. L'Aventure by Al Haramain is a decent fragrance, but it's just not. You get the Creed Aventus vibe from this, but you can tell it's not refined. It's not like blended well enough to me. It almost has like a generic vibe to it. And I know I hate saying that word, but that's what I'm getting. Alt fragrances, definitely the absolute closest to this particular batch that I have of Creed Aventus, the 19S01. Hands down, that is the clear winner out of these fragrances that I've shown you. And Lady in Red's version is not bad, but it's just not. When you talk about Creed Aventus, you have to talk about the sophistication. You have to talk about the status quo of it. This is a well-refined, well-blended fragrance. I can see why a lot of people like it, but for some of us who don't want to spend that kind of money, there are alternatives out there. Some are going to be closer to Creed Aventus. Others are going to lean more to the right or to the left, but they still are decent fragrances. With that being said, that is my comparison to Creed Aventus 19S01. 7 other fragrances. We did Double Aventus by Sensual Obsessions, Insurrection Pure 2. That smells so good. Zara's Vibrant Leather. We did Bergamot and Musk by Cremo. Still jumping off this tissue clearly more than any of these other fragrances. Al Haramain, L'Aventure. We also did Alt's Executive number 26, which is the absolute closest fragrance, hands down. And we also did Lady in Red Replica. Now, being that I reapplied a little bit more to this tissue, you do get more of that Creed Aventus vibe. It's just not this particular Creed Aventus, the 19S01. But it's not bad. All right, y'all. Here is, I'm going to hold up these two and clear cut winner. 2 smelling great. I'm out of here, y'all. Peace.